Hello, 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 my people, and welcome back to the Radical Black American Podcast. Black perspective that's a little different sometimes. I am your host, Umoja, and I'm going to introduce to you today a person who is very special to me personally, and he's a huge reason for the direction of this podcast's content. He probably wouldn't say that in public, but I'm going to say it for him, for real though. But before I do, I want to talk a little bit about something that we was talking about earlier as an organization, just as a group amongst ourselves. And we was talking about something that I always find myself bringing up when I hear people talking black politics or politics in general. I always ask myself and others around me, what's the plan for black people? Like no matter what we're talking about, no matter what aspect or angle, when it comes to finances, when it comes to politics, whether it's Africa, whether it's America, I always look around and I say, okay, but what's the plan for us? And I know people I don't think people get tired of hearing about black people problems actually, because every time I see some content about black people problems, i.e. like, we getting shot and killed by the police or just getting misused in public, like those, they get so many thousands of views, thousands of comments, like people love that kind of content, right? And on the flip side, we also seem that we used to like nothing happening when we see those things get done. So when you hear somebody talking about, hey, let's come together, it's like, okay, what's new? What's different? Or even worse, we think that it's either somebody trying to do some hotep hustle or some prosperity preacher hustle once again. And I get it. I really do get it. I promise you I do, people. However, I really want to encourage y'all to check out the B.A.I.O. I really, 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 really do. When y'all see this podcast or y'all see some posts, wherever y'all see this posted at, look at the links and follow the links and see if you want to get with an organization with what it's talking about. Seriously, though, I believe in it. And I know I don't see myself as no gullible dummy who would just go for anything. And I believe in the organization. And the reason why I believe in it is because the whole vision is for us to go to a land that's for us, develop the infrastructure, and then we'll establish the nationhood that we're talking about. LIN, land, infrastructure, nationhood, in that order. And we already have a huge chunk of that, y'all. And we're going to talk about more of that later, because I don't want to get into that, because that's not the topic. But when we talk about what's the plan for black people, even now, even here in America, people just fiddle their thumbs. No one seems to know, and no one seems to want to talk. No one seems to want to talk with us about it and listen to what our plans is. And mind you, I am not a man who thinks that I have all the answers, not me personally. And my ideas, everybody in the group don't agree with it, right? And I promise you, I'm going to have more people from the group on this podcast. I am going to force them on here because they have brilliant things to say. And some of it I don't even agree with. And a lot of it I don't even know. Like, and that's the best part. It's not a bunch of emojis rolling around in one group having a sword contest, if you know what I'm saying. I promise you it's not. It's beautiful women. Matter of fact, women do most of the work, just like normal, man. Straight up. Straight up, it's only a few of us who actually doing stuff. And as usual, women is carrying the torch. I'm talking about doing mad work, actually educating young adults in Liberia about how we gonna change Liberia. Y'all don't understand. Y'all don't understand at all. And that's why when you hear my loudness, I'll just say it could be off-putting. But it's because I see what we're doing and I see what we're capable of doing and what we could be doing if more of us would get our head out of our asses and just help. I'm talking about if it's $5 or if it's actually coming and showing up and helping physically, even if it's virtually. Anyway, let me get off that soapbox and get back to what we're supposed to be talking about. Now, I came to introduce my brother. I invited my brother Holip from the B.A.I.O. He actually one of the founders of the B.A.I.O. And I don't even know if we even talked about that when we were talking, but we were supposed to be talking about a single topic, right? We were supposed to be talking about whatever rift is going on between African Americans and continental Africans. And specifically, it was between African Americans and immigrant Africans. Specifically, not just continental Africans, but immigrant Africans for some reason, right? When I tell you, we probably talked about that for like 30 seconds, y'all. We just went all over the place. So bear with me. I'm not used to doing the podcast thing. I'm definitely not used to hosting anything, but I enjoy talking to my big bro, and I hope you get something out of it too. In a minute. Well, first I want to say thanks for your patience, big bro. I was having some mad technical difficulties. And low key, I still am, but we gonna press through it. We are gonna press through it, David.
Cool.
How are you feeling, sir?
I'm good.
Good. Well, again, for real though, thanks for your patience. And I wanted to have you on, first of all, because you're somebody whose opinion I actually respect when it comes to Black politics, when it comes to Black power politics, when it comes to Black social geopolitical, I guess that is politics, but you understand what I'm saying. I really do. I really do like your opinion, and I really intend on having you show up on here more than you probably would like to. But I'm gonna be tapping you on the shoulder, and yeah, pretty much. I just I think that there's not a lot of there's not a lot of content that really moves me outside of what we be talking about, you know, and like I remember like some of your content was the reason why I came to the B.A.I.O.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like it's only right to like have you on, like have like a special guest, you know, as much as I can, as much as we can both bear. And today, I think it was a really good topic to bring up is the little rift that's going on between African Americans and African immigrants. But first, I want you to drop your own introduction. I can't wait for you to hear it because I know I'm gonna have my own little introduction for you. But I want you to tell the people a little bit about yourself, a little bit before we dive into any actual content, if you will, whatever you want. Freestyle.
Sure. First, I want to thank you for having me on. It's definitely an honor for me, because you are one of the people whose opinions I definitely respect. Um, what I always say about me is that I'm basically grew up in a working class family situation in urban area in Brooklyn, Brownsville section. Um, I think the way that I want people to view me is as just a regular working class black man dealing with all the stuff that black men deal with. I'm not a scholar. I'm not a prophet or any of that stuff. If you notice, I use the word prophet ironically. I call myself the prophet, mom, prophet, Holip, ironically, because it's like everybody feels like they got to have these grandiose titles in order for people to listen to them. Me, my perspective is I'm a regular working class dude, grew up in the projects, went to school, went to work. Um, I got into cultural consciousness because I just I grew up in a Jehovah's Witness household and a Baptist household. My mom was a Baptist, my father was Jehovah's Witness. Um, Luckily for me, they didn't force us into the religion, but we did have to go to the church and to the Kingdom Hall and stuff when they went, because we were kids. So I think learning that stuff and listening to it didn't sit right with me, because I always felt like, well, what about black people?
Right.
Everything is white, 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 white. White people did this way. I'm like, well, what about black people? And the thing that really stuck with me, I remember this when I was coming up, is the Martin Luther King situation in America, because Martin Luther King wasn't a Jehovah's Witness. So I used to always ask them, well, what about what's going to happen to him? Because this man is responsible for basically integrating us into the society, responsible for us being able to work and stuff amongst white people and all of this stuff and civil rights and blah 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 blah. And it just made me wonder, like, all right, well, since he's not a Jehovah's Witness, because Jehovah's Witness is a cult, by the way. And they never had an answer for me. Another thing that I used to question them about was, how do I know the difference between the devil and my mind? That's another thing when I was a kid. I used to always ask them. It's like, because everything is like when you do something wrong, oh, that's the devil. Like, well, what's the difference between, how do I identify what's the devil's thoughts and my thoughts? Nobody seemed to have an answer for that. So I was a very inquisitive kid. It's just when if it didn't make sense to me, I couldn't rock with it. And then I came across the autobiography of Malcolm X, and I would say that that's the book that's responsible for just changing my whole way of looking at life and my whole worldview, and it set me in motion for all the stuff to come after it. So once I learned to stop thinking like a Christian and start thinking not as a Muslim, because I didn't. You know what's so funny? Even though Malcolm X was a Muslim, it's not like he taught us anything Islamic. He just taught us how to use our brains and common sense to me. I never really heard him like preaching the gospel, and, it was
Right.
more so about just using your brain and seeing if this stuff makes sense. So that's what he turned my head around and got me to thinking. Um, Another person who is responsible is not even a famous person. It's a brother that I knew growing up, who was the first person that I heard. And this was before I read Malcolm X. The first person who I ever heard say the term "the white man is the devil." And when I heard that, that was such a powerful thing for me to hear, because I'm like, well, wait a minute. He didn't say some white people is the devil. He said the white man is the devil. And that just blew my mind. I was like, whoa. And then I started researching and studying the Bible and the Quran and all of these other texts and history and all of this other stuff. And it got me to like, wow, now I understand why he said that. Because the Bible, the devil in the Bible ain't got nothing on the history of the white man in this world. If you was to compare those two, there's no comparison. Devil is getting lapped in the Bible. So you know what I'm saying? So it's like it just sent me off into the scholar stuff, the religious stuff, and blah 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 blah. It's always been like a journey for me in an evolution of thought, because I'm always constantly testing what I believe to be true, to see if it's really true. And after that, I went through various chambers in the conscious community. I was studying the slave theater, which I love because they used to have different speakers come in there from different. Nobody came to really indoctrinate you. They just came to teach what they knew, and you can pick whatever teacher you wanted. So it wasn't like a situation where you were being like the Jehovah's Witness, where you go in there and they just be indoctrinated. No different points of views, and that's what I loved about the slave theater. And what led me to where I am right now was being in the slave theater when I listened to Amos Wilson for the first time.
Fuck.
And the thing about that was, it was really, what I remember about that night, it was really cold and the slave had no heat. The heating system was broken. So people were tried to stick around, and then they gradually left. It was like down to like maybe 15 people in the audience and some people on stage. And me and Mac, rest in peace, should we even stay, because we never heard Amos Wilson. We saw him in his suit and whatever, which was not what we were used to seeing. We were used to seeing like the African garb and all this other stuff. So we like, something told us to stay. I don't know why, because for all reasons we should have been left that place. We were freezing. I had my coat on, we had my boots, and just sitting in a cold theater. And that was the absolute best lecture I've ever been to. and totally changed my way of thinking. It was like my aha moment was when I heard this man speak. And basically what he did was he broke down what do for self actually means. Because you always hear these catchphrases and buzzwords like, dude, yeah, black people need to do for self and da 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 and nationhood and all that. And you hear this, but it's just a catchphrase.
Okay, y'all, at this point, Big Bro is going into his experience at the slave theater. Now, me, myself, I'm a West Coast cat. I've never even been to New York. I've never been to New York. And I'm most familiar with the slave theater from actually seeing Amos Wilson being recorded inside of the slave theater. And I didn't even know that it was I think it did. I think in one of them it does say like live from the slave theater in New York. It's like seriously. And Big Bro at one point when we was in discussion saying, oh yeah, I seen blah 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 at the slave theater, Amos Wilson, and I like my jaw dropping, like Amos Wilson is like a god to me, like literally God in form of man and intellect. Like seriously, if y'all don't know who Amos Wilson is, please find out. Like, dude was incredible. And he starts talking about this, and I like interrupt him and stop him and like just mess up everything. So just pardon me. It's not Big Bro fault. Like I'm the one went all off tangent and tried to take control of the podcast and everything. But yeah, this is a really important part to me because he's basically expressing like him coming to consciousness completely, right, and figuring out what the solution was, right. So yeah, I really hope you guys listen to this and enjoy it for real. The floor is yours again. Pick up wherever you want to, but the slave theater is when I get real jealous of your walk. Just to let you know, just to be very clear, for real. Go ahead, the floor is yours.
Yeah, the theater was really cold, and most of the people had left. I forget, there were some people that were speaking about, well, Ultimatics always speaks at the beginning, but then there was another speaker in between. I don't even remember who it was, but we saw him come up, and we were gonna leave, and something just, I don't know, something just told us to stay. And like I said, it was the best lecture I've ever been to, and it was my aha moment for what this cultural conscious thing was all about. And it was both a blessing and a curse, because it's a blessing in the sense that when your eyes are open, you can see what things really are, but a curse in a sense because you realize how many people have been bullshitting you and fucking around and not doing what they're supposed to do purposefully to keep us in the condition that we're in. So it made me open up my eyes, made me, become a problem for the conscious community. Because once I knew what knowledge for self actually meant, then the next question that you're going to logically ask yourself is, then what are you guys doing? What are all of these people who's telling me that the white man is the devil? How come they haven't gotten together to form some type of movement against the white man? And that's when I came to the conclusion that a lot of people don't want to come to today. This is why this is very powerful conclusion to come to. And the conclusion is that these groups calling themselves working for black people don't give a shit about black people. They operate like drug dealers on a spiritual level. And our community is the block, and they have our block cut up into different segments. So they sell weight on their block, let the other person sell weight on their block, and they don't interfere with one another because everybody's making money. And once I discovered that, that's when I became a problem for the conscious community, because there was an attempt by us, me, my cousin, Mac, and my friends at that time, tried to bring these groups together in our naivete. And it was probably the most revealing thing of my life, because it let me know there ain't a lot of people that's out here that actually are for the interest of our people or actually want our people to have power. And I don't have to tell you about that because you already know.
I do.
We get pushback after pushback after every time. We just graduated a class in Liberia with Liberian students, teaching them their history, teaching them their culture, teaching them why Liberia was formed. Had a graduating class, and then what came right after it? Negro mess. People trying to stop it. Because this is the path. I was talking to some of our B.A.I.O brothers, and I told them, listen, if you want the path of accolades, you picked the wrong thing to be a part of. If you expect to think about how many great people before us have come and gone. Did they get accolades? They get accolades from us. But it's not like people know about these people. Amos Wilson is probably one of our most brilliant minds that I've ever encountered.
And very few people know about him.
Yeah. Brilliant.
And this is just as an aside. This is where history frustrates me, because it's like history is very important and valuable, but it should be utilized as a tool. And we utilize it for like a soothing tool, not a tool, not a weapon. How about that? We should use it for our own personal weapon. It's weaponized against us. But it's like when it comes down to using it as a weapon for us, like it seems like that's not important. But anyway, back on track.
And the reason why I just wish that the people were able to appreciate and love and respect the people who actually love them.
Yo.
I just wish that they had the ability to do that. Because the only people that I really trust right now are you guys. And you know why? I trust you because I know your heart is in the right place. You really care about your people. And the reason why I know this is because you don't have to be doing this shit. Had I not wasted my time, well, I don't say wasted my time because it's not a waste. Had I not put my time into the cultural conscious community and trying to bang the drum for land infrastructure nationhood, had I just been selfish and looked out for my own self, I could have got into real estate, all this other investments and all this stuff, and just cared about myself. I'd probably be a multimillionaire. But you know what? When I look at that, it's not like I look at that and become jealous because I don't live that lifestyle. If anything, I feel that lifestyle is empty. It's an empty lifestyle. What the hell is the purpose of gaining all of these riches if you cannot help people? How many fucking cars you gonna drive? How many houses can you buy? How much shit can you actually possess before you start helping people? Like, you can only buy the house once. After you've done driven the car, driven all the, it's like people are just so fascinated with stuff. And it's like I saw something. That's why I don't really have a lot of respect for people with money. I'm not going to say all of them because there are some people that do right. But for the most part, people with money don't do anything. And the people that they help, like I saw something recently with one of these streamers. This guy called I Show Speed or something. He's like one of these top streamers on one of these streaming platforms.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a young black kid. He's got to be 18. He's not old. He was in some foreign country in Europe and gave one of the homeless people in Europe, a man, $20,000. And the only thing that I can think of is, wow, I wonder what we can do with the Liberia Leadership Academy with $20,000. And I didn't even get mad at the kid because he's a kid. He doesn't know any better. He probably thought, hey, I helped somebody's life. Yay, good for me. And like made him feel good.
Right.
And I'm sitting there going, damn, here we are trying to do this on pennies on the dollar, using all of our time. We're all working class people doing this on our spare time. And nobody wants to help on any substantial level. None of these big wigs who throw away thousands of dollars on strippers. Nobody wants to help. I don't care how positive you are. That's very disheartening.
It's funny, you like in your intro, you going into so many different topics, and literally it's gonna be all stuff that we're gonna be getting into on this podcast, not on this particular one, but on the Radical Black American podcast. We're actually gonna be touching on all that. I definitely want to talk about how money, talking about collective money, is so taboo in our community. It's really the weirdest thing. Like, I look around, just pause for a second, and as another aside, because when you talk about Amos Wilson, it makes me think about how he would talk about how we give our industries away. Back then, he was talking about like hip hop, and he was talking about like sports and how we like lead the culture. Obviously, he was ahead of the game. And I look now at the industries that we give away, and it don't seem like we have any interest in dominating them. We don't have any interest in dominating the industries that we like lead. We lead in industries. And then when we see our in certain industries, like even in entertainment, right? With the basketball players and football players, if anybody pays any attention to sports, you notice how entertainment, they just get more and more and more money, and they're getting younger. And instead of us having something that we already have in place, to where, yeah, I don't care how much you get, 1% is going into the B.A.I.O. 1% is going into the National Black Fund, whatever it is. Like ours, though, that's controlled by us, not some government agency, something that's controlled by us, the people, for us. All these, because when you talk about the $2 trillion, all that spending power, most of that comes from a few people. Those people get with them $100 million contracts. It's not me and you. Our money is not really hitting that bucket that much. Anyway, as another side, let me let you finish your intro.
Well, it's even worse than what you're painting. That picture that you just painted is bad. It's even worse. And the reason why it's worse is because what they say, if you don't know, you don't know. If you don't have a reference to draw from, you don't know how to make these connections. And I'll just, rather than saying that, let me just give you an example. Most people have not had it explained to them the way that I'm about to explain it, and it was explained to me through Amos Wilson. Look at how many things that our culture produces that we don't get paid for. We produced the Michael Jacksons. They came from our culture. We produced the Michael Jordans. They came from our culture. We produce all of these, the Muhammad Ali's, every top Black American star you can think of came out of our culture. But who benefits from it? It's like we produce them and then say, here, Mr. White Man, run with the globe. And has anybody explained it to our people like that? No. Where are they going to get it from? The only place they're going to get it from is with what we're talking about right now, and we don't have the big ass microphone. That's the frustrating part. The information is there for people to get their brains right, but they're not listening to it because there's so much, static in between. There's so much unnecessary people on the microphone taking up space and time. That's why when I listen to people and they say, oh, what do you feel about, I don't even want to say these people, various miscellaneous talking head. What do you feel about this guy? What do you feel about that guy? And I'm like, it lets me know that, damn, this is who you're listening to. This is the level of intellect that you're on this. So this person is considered deep to you.
It's maddening. It's maddening. It's crazy. I know exactly what you're talking about, and it's crazy.
Yeah. It's like everybody will listen to somebody. This name I will mention. He a broken clock is what they say, right twice a day.
Yes, sir.
So there's some stuff that this dude will say that hits home every once in a while because just that broken clock principle. But this Charleston White dude is considered deep by people. I just saw Terrence Howard on Joe Rogan. Oh man, Terrence Howard is dropping it. Da, da, da. I'm like, what the hell is going on with you people? You have so much outlets for you to listen to, and this is what's occupying your mind. Talking about all this spooky shit, Illuminati, Trilateral Commission, the Rockefellers, all of this nonsense that I've been hearing for a good 30 years. And this is what they get amped up about. That's why everybody was going crazy over this Cat Williams interview, when this is old news. This him and Steve Harvey and the rest of his beef with the industry goes back, I say, a good 20 years. The reason why I gained so much steam now is because you got the kids who were really young and didn't know about it. Now they're grown. So now they're hearing about it and it's like fresh and brand new to them. So many people are wasting our people's time. So many people are taking up or have these big ass microphones saying absolutely nothing. So many of our people are making all this money and doing absolutely nothing. A little bit that they could do would mean so much, and they're not even doing that. But they are making the strippers happy. The dancers are pleased that they're doing well. Unfortunately, our people are not doing well. So that's why I don't have any respect for these dudes. Since I was a child, I don't respect people possessions. Because when I see a person like says, "Oh, I got a Bugatti, I got this, and I'm got real estate, I got that," the first thing that goes through my mind is, "Okay, so you judging yourself by what you got. So what if you lose it? Then what are you? If you're going to judge yourself by your material possessions, those are fleeting. How many people have you seen running with the world, and the next thing you know, they out begging, they out in the street?"
I wanna, man, cause you're gonna have us going into places that we weren't supposed to be going to, bro. This is why I'm talking to you. This is exactly what I'm talking
Well,
to
you know what? You know what? What would be better is you probably ask me the questions you want to ask me, and then I can expound on it. Because if I just go off, I'll be going to
Yeah.
all types of different places.
But I know as you go though, you're gonna be dropping stuff in between, and if you ain't paying attention, you might miss it. You know,
Mhm.
like I want to go back to one thing, and this is one that this one came to me. I can't remember how long ago. It wasn't very, very recent, but it wasn't very long, but within the last few years or so. And in the beginning of the interview, you had mentioned something about saying like, I'm not a prophet and I'm not a prophet. And I remember just waking up one day, or I don't know what I was doing or nothing. And it came to me that prophets and prophetesses still exist. And just like back in the days of and what is it, BC, and people laughed at prophets and they only had a few people listening to them, and then when they died, and then everybody seemed like, oh, dude was right. And I think that happens to our, I mean, it's been happening, right? Like you think of Malcolm, you think of Amos, you think of all of the fallen heroes, or even if they didn't get murdered, all the ones that's just passed on, and we don't even know them, or we don't follow their lead. Like like it's actually sick. But I really do, and I just want to get your opinion. Like, I believe that whatever God is, right? I don't know about that, what that is, but I do know that there are prophets. Now, I don't know other cultures. I don't know what other cultures do, but I know for a fact that we have people who are literally gifted trying to tell people like Moses in the desert saying, no, we got to go and walk through the desert and we got to do this and we got to eat shit and we got to work hard to get away from these people. I legit think that there is real life prophets and prophetesses and they don't just get paid attention to. I really do believe that Black people, they get visions and everything. They can see it and they trying to tell their people, and the people are just looking like, ha ha ha, we just want to party and bullshit. Ask the hen dog.
I
What do you
think
think
you're
about that?
right. I think you're right, but let's try to disconnect it from the spiritual mumbo jumbo. And
Okay.
let's just call it for what it is. There are certain people who are futurists, who are on this. Like, take for instance, I feel that the BAIO members are futurists because why? We're plugged into what's going on right now. You don't really hear us talking about the Bible and talking about ancient texts or whatever. We're plugged into what's going on this planet right now. And when you
And
do
looking
that,
toward the future.
yeah, when you do that and you're looking for the future, you look at what's trending. Where is the technology going? Where's the world going? Where's economics going? So Amos Wilson showed me that yeah, there are prophets, but it's not super mysterious. It's not spooky.
Hmm.
What it is people looking to see what are the trends going toward. And just like Amos Wilson was able to tell us where we would be at right now, it's not like we don't have the ability to do that. Because I tell people all the time, um, financially, what's going to happen in the future? And people will play this tape 10 or 20 years from now and say, wow, Holip was a prophet. We're going to banks becoming obsolete. Basically, if you look at futuristic movies, there are no banks. What they are credits. And you go to each person, if that person has what you want and you want what they have, you give them the credits, they give you whatever the product is. I just did it today. When I was coming out of the park, I went to this brother that was selling juices. He was making juices. And he had a special juice that he made. It was watermelon, lemon, ginger, and something, pineapple, whatever. Some one is special for the day. And I say, hey, let me get your special for the day. And he didn't have a cash register or anything. He just had a sign with his Zelle and his Venmo and Cash App. So he said, how much is this? $6. I put the $6 in, sent him the Zelle, show him that I sent it, gave me the drink. That's what we're headed toward. There's not going to be a need for a bank. Now, 10, 20 years from now, when what I just said is a reality, does that make me a prophet? Technically, right?
Technically, but because prophet got the spiritual context,
Right.
because I get what you're saying. A
Yeah, they
futuristic
make it seem
standpoint.
as if you got some vision that wasn't disconnected from what's going on in the world. Because I don't believe that. I don't believe there's going to be somebody that's totally not plugged into what's happening, and all of a sudden they can tell you what the future is going to be. No, I can tell you what the future is going to be. All you got to do is look at the trends. You got to be plugged into what's going on and see where the world is headed. And the scary part about that is, as a futurist, looking at the position of your people while this train is moving.
Yeah. Well, I got a couple questions for you actually that kind of pertains to some of this stuff. I know it's going to tie into all of it, but the rift that's going on between African Americans and African immigrants, have you been noticing it, and where you think that come from?
Yeah, I've noticed it. That's what the whole ADOS and FBA movements are about. They call them tethers, people from Africa and people from the Caribbean, because they want to create a separation between all of us. They want to keep us in our own little camps. And the reason why You hear people talking about Africans don't love us, Africans don't like us. And when you peel back that layer, because people just accept that and they go, oh yeah, that's true. If you peel back that layer, because I always ask people questions, well, what type of Africans are you dealing with? And 9 times out of 10, and I would say 10 times out of 10, they're dealing with African immigrants or Caribbean immigrants, people who had a country and came to America and are living in America. And there's a reason why there's so much friction with that. Because, first of all, why are you here in America? Why did you come to America, and why are you still staying in America? For the African American, it's like, why are you still staying? For the Caribbean and African immigrant, what are you doing coming here? What is the purpose of coming to this country? Don't you have a country of your own? So the friction is you got two groups who put America first, and they're fighting with each other to see who could be the top minority in America. So of course there's going to be friction. Unlike with us, we don't give a damn because that's their problem. It's not our problem. We're not trying to fight to be Americans. We're trying to fight to be Liberians. We're trying to have control, socioeconomic and political control over that piece of territory. So this is the reason why these beefs and stuff don't really affect us, because we're not trying to be Americans. We're not setting up our shop here and making this our home. Our home is in Liberia. Our home is our nation state.
Hang on, Holip. Are you trying to tell people that they need to disavow their citizenship, quit their job, and then just like hitchhike to Africa? Like, is that the idea?
No, because I don't want those type of people in Liberia. That's why I always say, everybody talks about, oh, you're trying to force me to go to, what are you kidding? I don't want you. I want you to stay here in your TP. I want you to get your straightening comb and get your hair straight, smoke your peace pipe, and engage in this Batman versus the Joker relationship with white people in America. I'm not trying to convince nobody to do anything. Most of the time, I'm just trying to let people know what it is that we are trying to do. But if you want to be an Indian, if you're anti-African, I'm so good with you. I'm so cool on that. Just stay out of our way. Stay out of our business. And do the bang up job that you're doing here in America. Because you seem to got it all figured out, right? Your people are just thriving in this environment, right? Collectively. So, hey, what are you messing around with us for? The people that's trying to get to the continent and have a government of their own, foreign policy of their own, build up infrastructure of their own, create jobs. Why are you messing around with us? Just keep doing what you're doing, pal. You're doing a great job, bang up job. Black people are so happy in America.
That's so. This brings me. It brings me to another question, but I want to stay a little bit on the topic of the African American and African immigrant piece. And what ways do you think the like cultural misunderstandings impact the relationship between it? If that makes sense.
Well, there's a variety of things. One, you had the African American civil rights struggle, which allowed basically that's the reason why immigrants can even come here and work and do all this. So a lot of the work was put in by African Americans, but nobody seems to appreciate the work that they did. They just come and take advantage of it. So that's one thing that's going to cause some problems.
Mhm.
When you come into another country talking about you don't like African Americans, when the whole reason why you're working in America is because of African American, I can see how that might cause a problem. And then you have the that's for the on the immigrant side. Now on our side, we got to make some decisions about what it is that we want to do, because how is it possible that other people can come over and take advantage of this American system and thrive in it and form communities in it, and we can't? Now me and you know the answer to that, but the problem is the Black Power American and the militant and the integrationist doesn't know the answer to it, apparently, because all they do is complain about this system, but they don't want to leave the system. So it's a contradiction. It's like they complain about America, but then don't, like, when somebody says, "Oh, embrace America," "Oh, I'm gonna not," but you still want to live here and be here. So it's a contradiction, which is why I've always said, to make your life easier, just bend the knee and become an American. Because which one is it? How you gonna you want to live some separate Black existence inside of America? Last time somebody tried to exist separately in America, it was a civil war. But do you think the logical thing was they would be down with nationhood, right? Logically. But the problem is they don't want to do the hard work that it takes for doing for self. It's a lot easier after a snowstorm to sit in your house, be heated up by, the gas heating and electricity that the white man provides for you, and allow his trucks and his servicemen to clean up the mess for you. When you're doing for self, you got to do all that yourself. You got to have all of those services with skilled people ready to go into action to make sure that things are done. No, you know what? One of the things that's frustrating, and I know this might take, at the risk of taking things off or going
Go
in a different
ahead, please.
direction.
Go ahead.
One of the things that really frustrates me is people's having no appreciation or understanding of the very world that they exist in. People forget you have nature out here. And if you take away buildings and cities and whatever, you're going to be at the mercy of all of these animals. They just fail to realize that. It's like people have built up these infrastructure to protect you from nature, to protect you from the harshness of the wilderness and the forest and all of that stuff. This is why infrastructure exists, but nobody has any appreciation for it. They just take it completely for granted. You got like people, like women on the dating scene talking about, I ain't dating no blue collar worker and looking down on people that literally provide the infrastructure for them to survive. If it wasn't for them, they'd be dead because they don't have the skills to survive in the cold, harsh wilderness of the woods. They would be dead. So it's very easy to put people down when you basically sitting up in an air conditioned office talking about how, looking down on service workers, looking down on blue collar workers, because they do all the shit that we don't want to do.
You just made me think of something, and I got like 15 more minutes, and I want to make all these count, big bro.
Mm-hmm.
This is the question. I'm gonna just drop a couple serious questions and chop it up as I may. What I want to know from you is, and you can answer it however you want to.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm trying to formulate it. This is a freestyle question. What do you think is lacking in men, in Black men specifically? What do you think is lacking, and or what do you think needs to be done in order for Black men to merely let me not like qualify it too much, for them to give a fuck about like the need for infrastructure. I'm trying to ask, 'cause it seems like by and large a lot of us don't even see the need for it. We don't even think we need it. We think that this is it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so like what do you think? Like, yeah, I don't want to keep on talking because I'm gonna just jumble up the question more. But you understand what I'm trying
Yeah.
to ask, right?
Yeah. A cycle has to be broken because what we're doing is we first have to produce men.
Wow.
And the problem is, and is I'm trying to do this in a way where it doesn't feel like I'm blaming black women because I'm not blaming black women. I'm just
Speak your mind.
stating an objective reality. If you have all of these single parent households where mainly the woman is running the household, how is she going to raise a man? And then when she raises these boys into, I don't even know what you would call them, then the issue is, well, where are all the black men at? It's like it's a cycle that has to end. The
Yeah.
only end that I see to that cycle is on the continent where we have established our nation state, and if we had put in policies, we created jobs, created a middle class, a thriving economy where the so-called nuclear family, for lack of a better word, actually can thrive and exist, where children are being born with a mother and a father.
I think I think you just said something that's really important. We was talking about this earlier, like privately. And what you're talking about is how devastating American culture is on black people. Like
Yes.
all black, even if you're the most wealthiest of black folks, you're subject to be a subject of a police officer at any given time. No
Yeah.
matter where you're at, I don't care if you're in Louis V. I don't care if you in St. Louis Obispo. I don't care if you're in Italy. I don't care if you in Africa. If you come around the wrong police and you black, you are a subject to them.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's called the nigger manufacturing machine. I spoke about it
Exactly.
years ago. Really
Even
strikes
this right here, feeling like we gotta be so pro-African and we gotta know thyself and all that stuff. That's American made.
Yeah. Yeah, we
People who
can't.
know
I know
themselves
what you're
don't.
saying. What you're saying is we can't just be.
Yo, you can't just be. And here's the thing that I want people to hear seriously. Understanding, you know how like all black people will joke about this. We'll see a non-black person, particularly a white person, just being as dingy and naive, and they look like they skipping on the balls of their feet when they walking, and we look like these happy motherfuckers, like no
Mhm.
worries in the world. No,
Yeah.
literally though, literally no worries in the world. They're so happy they get bored and want to do dangerous stuff just for some excitement. Like
Yeah, or
seriously.
create causes just so they can, because they're
Right,
bored.
right. This is what it's like when you have all your ducks in a row as a nation and your people is being taken care of. Mind you, they wicked toward their own people too, but they still have the facade that everything is okay because they people are in control. They have that.
Yo,
Our black asses have that same faith when they know they don't care about it. We literally sit back and think that it's gonna be okay because we in America. Like there's
yo,
any evidence of that.
yo, I got a term that I use that is a New York term,
Say
but happy as a white woman in Park Slope.
it. Exactly. I know you
'Cause
know what I'm talking
if
about.
you ever walk through Park Slope, them some of the happiest, them white women are literally walking down the street smiling. Everything is all good. They smiling, hey, good morning, da da da. No
Mhm,
drama, no nothing, no trauma, none of that.
mhm, mhm.
I saw a
And
white girl. I think the deepest thing I seen was at 14th Street, Union Square. I saw a white girl, pretty blonde young white girl on her phone walking into open traffic. She didn't even look at the signal. Just walked on her phone, and all the
because
cars stopped.
this my street, bitch.
All the cars stopped until she went to go across the street, and she was walking right through. It was a green light. They could have went and run her ass over. No, let her go by because this is her world.
Mm.
This is her world. They operate and move like it because that's what it is. And I personally want to have, I think the closest I came to it was when I went to Rwanda.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so happy I went there because that was the first time I think in my life I experienced what it was like to just be. Just be. I remember before we went, one of the brothers, Neo Black Nationalist, we were having a conversation and he was saying, man, I can't wait to get to Rwanda so I can support Black businesses. And then I looked at him, I said, yo, son, it's a Black country. You don't have to make some special point to support Black business. Every time you walk into a store, you're paying taxes to go to the Rwandan government.
It's like that.
You know, you want us to really support Black, own the land, occupy and control the land, and then you're really, that's what buying Black is. Do Black people charge taxes in this country? No. Nope. Taxes go right to the United States government. Doesn't go to us. But guess what? If you have your own country with your own commerce and your own products and services, any taxes that you pay is going to your government to help to maintain and build your country and make your country thriving and successful. I want to see Liberia on the happiness index.
What's the happiness index?
That's the index across the world. Every year they do different metrics to determine which country is the happiness in terms of their citizenry.
Where is America be at? Because I know it's something that you keep up on because every few years you remind us.
Yeah, I think America. Well, I don't know exactly, but I think America is somewhere between 20 and 13, somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's what it was last time.
Yeah, but the countries that dominate is the Scandinavian regions. Every year, their people are happy. Their people have no problems. That's why you don't see many Norwegians trying to get to America. You don't see people from Iceland like, oh, I got to get to America. It's like they are happy where they're at. And we are capable of having that same thing in Liberia. Liberia is the ultimate fixer-upper. You got all these people flipping properties, but they don't want to flip that property. They'll flip property here in America, though. They'll take a house that's abandoned and build it up and proudly say, hey, I built this house up and I sold it and I made X amount of profit, da, 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 da. But then you got a whole ass country that you don't want no part of. Interesting. Oh, I remember. Do you want me to talk about what we were talking about earlier with the dating thing?
Which part?
Well, I was telling you how I saw this thing on the internet, this dating show where you pop the balloon.
And you must. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, actually, it's not off the beaten path. It goes according to what we were talking about. It's like how this culture is so dysfunctional that we need to get out of here. I saw a show, this balloon popping. Most people who on social media will know what I'm talking about. And they had a row of sisters there, and then they had this kid come out, young man, must have been in his 20s, casually dressed. He had on a cap and a briefcase or whatever. And so he comes out, he introduces himself, and a few women just pop the balloons immediately. Didn't even give him a chance to talk to them, find out who he is. They just popped the balloons. So they went to one of the first girls who popped the balloon, and she was just extremely rude and disrespectful to him and was basically putting on a performance for all of the other women that was holding the balloons, or all the women that popped their balloons. Just all of the women, she was putting on a performance, but for them, by downgrading and trying to make him look silly and stupid. And normally, I would just say, oh, that's fucked up and blah, 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 whatever. But that really affected me emotionally. I felt really sad when I saw that. Because first thing that went through my mind is, how do you have the ability to be so nasty and disrespectful and rude to a man that you haven't even met? You just met him. He hasn't even opened up his mouth to talk to you, and that's how you're treating him? And there was nothing wrong with the dude. Nothing. But she was putting down his outfit, putting down his briefcase, putting down his speech patterns, just basically saying how, oh, she likes, just being ultimately disrespectful to this dude. And it bothered me because I'm sitting there going, why do we produce this? Why do we produce this type of mentality?
Produce and promote.
Yeah, and promote it. Oh man, I'm getting ready to see. I heard I hope that this is not true, but Sexy Red is supposed to be coming to the WWE.
Oh,
And I'm like, you
that
know what?
sounds believable.
There's some sisters in the WWE that I actually respect, and now I have a feeling that I'm not going to respect them no more, because I could just imagine what they're going to be doing with this chick. I could just imagine. It's we got to get out of here, man. We have to control the social, economic, and political context that we exist in, so we can produce functional Black people. That's what the whole thesis of the nigger manufacturing machine is for me. The nigger manufacturing machine thesis is Black culture in America produces Negroes like gremlins. It's a nigger manufacturing machine. Our culture produces this shit. And the only way we can stop it is with an alternate culture. Because if anybody knows anything about systems, systems are built to maintain themselves. Systems are never really built to fix anything. They're only built to maintain itself. So if you create a police system, that's not created to solve crime, because if it does, there won't be a police system. It's only created to maintain a police system. If you create hospitals and medical system, it's not created so that people don't get sick. It's created to maintain a medical and a hospital system. This is what systems do. So the question is, are we going to live like white people? Or are we going to map out our own reality on our own piece of land and our own drawing from our own epistemology? Because contrary to popular belief, Black people and white people don't think the same.
At all.
I always say this, Africans take complicated things and make them simple. Europeans take simple things and make them complicated because they think complication equals intelligence. So just that right there is a fundamental difference between our people. That's why we're so innovative. But they're very good at taking our innovations and basically empowering themselves with it. They're very good at that. I would love for us to get an opportunity, Umoja, to solve problems in Liberia. And when I say solve problems, I mean the young people that we're teaching are going to be the ones to solve them. If there's a genius in America, let's say there's some Black kid who is got the highest IQ in the world, he ain't working for Liberia. He's working for America, because the people in America, all of the systems are going to take that and say, well, how can we utilize this intelligence to help empower our country? Wouldn't it be nice if we had that?
See, I don't think people pay attention to statements like that. What you just said, that's where the ball gets dropped. We don't
Yep.
listen long enough to hear that jewel.
No, you have to listen. I'm lucky that I had a reference of what a man is and references of what a black man is on so many levels. The black men that I was had the honor and the pleasure of being around and listening, sitting at the feet and getting their teachings, not only in my family but outside of my family. If you don't have that, what how do you even know how to get it? You don't even
Uh,
know what it is.
you getting what my dad called nigger treatment.
Yeah. Like I saw, there was a video that I saw that I think perfectly described black people in America. It was a little cat, right, that was abandoned. And the person that took the abandoned cat was trying to feed it. And the cat was fighting, scratching, yelling and screaming until the bottle got in his mouth. Then it was like, oh shit, this is milk. That's us. And the BAIO is the bottle.
Sir, that has to be the best place to stop. Because that was a bar. That has to be the best place to stop. Seriously. I want to thank you personally, like a lot. And this is just going to be the first of many. And it's going to get so much better, right? For real. People going to be able to go back to this and say they've been on this. They've been, what they say, standing on this business. But
Yeah.
I got to get off. I got babies to feed. We got worlds to change. And I'm going to holler at you in a little bit. You heard me, big bro?
No doubt. I can't wait to hear these clips.
Yeah, man. It's going to be all right. I'm about to process it now. Love. Talk to you in a minute.
All righty. Peace.
And there you have it, people. I really hope y'all got something out of it. And I know we was all over the place and talked about a whole lot of stuff, but I really hope that y'all heard when we were talking about things like the Negro manufacturing machine and when we talked about how things could be if we had our own system. And I really want to convey the message of looking towards the future, whether it's 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now. What does it look like for us? Not just yourself. Like, I mean, seriously, look outside of yourself. Whoever listening to this, look outside of yourself and then ask yourself collectively, look at what you look at when you open your phone and look at social media, when you look at us dancing and doing the latest fads or whatever. Look at us, look at what our best is doing with their money. Look at us. Because there's lots of us on social media too, lots of us actresses and actors and Instagram models and ball players showing off all the money that we got and all the good that they doing as individuals. What does all these things look like 10, 20, 30 years from now? And then look at the landscape of America and what's going on right now in this election year. Look at what is going on and what is the future for us alone, because we don't want to look at ourselves as a single collective. But everybody else does, y'all. I promise you, everybody else does. But we don't ever want to look at ourselves as an individual collective. When it comes to that, the first thing that gets said is, we ain't a monolith. We ain't a monolith. That's not what the individual collective mean, people. That's not saying we all got to be dressed up in the same outfits and left, right, left, and like straight up. However, that wouldn't hurt either, guys. We in that much trouble, just to let you know. Anyway, I really hope y'all got something out of it. But the whole point, at the end of the day, the baseline, the alpha and omega, is us having our own, us being in control of our own everything. That's all. In a minute.